Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie and today we are back with another mukbang! Den, how does it feel your first time in the Biz Kitchen?
Comfortable, comfy, cozy.
It feels good, cozy. Are you ready to eat sushi? Because we have a ton of it. So today we have salmon. Is that yellowtail? I don't freaking know. We've got shrimp, tuna, and then all of these delicious rolls in the back. And I just want to say one thing. Den, you look so good right now. Like, is it the shirt? Is it? Give them a little twirl. Pop up a little bit. I mean, I feel like it's such a shame that in these videos you don't actually get to see our full outfit in its full glory, but here we are. Now, did you know this? Because I didn't know this, and my whole life, my whole perspective changed on things once I found out that buying one used item instead of a new item, like one shirt that's used, like this amazing sweater that he has, saves enough water to make iced coffee every single day for the next 4 years. Just literally this one item. I know. I feel like that's an even bigger reason for me to keep shopping at ThredUp. You guys have probably heard about me rave about ThredUp before on the podcast, and I really have a thing for ThredUp because of the fact that I don't have to leave my house to thrift. I can do it on the comfort of my couch. I can filter my search by style, size, budget, color. It makes thrifting so freaking easy. And if you guys don't know, ThredUp is an online consignment and thrift store. If you haven't already checked them out, today's the day, especially because April is Earth Month. Yeah, it's a whole month. And not only is ThredUp amazing for your wallet, it's great for the planet. Which, speaking of wallet, I need to show you guys just how much money I saved by using ThredUp. I got this Glassons cardigan that estimated retail was $39, but I got them for $15.99. This Zara knit tank was estimated to be $28, but I got it for $15.99. The Zara dress pants, the estimated retail was $48, and I got them for $30. Some of my items even came with their tags still on, so it was like new, and I love the fit on all of these. This Zara dress, it's so flowy. I styled it with a little blazer. I just have so much fun shopping at ThredUp. I love a good deal. But I also love things that make me feel confident and cute. And I do love the planet. So the fact that you can do all three of these things just by shopping at ThredUp and doing it from the comfort of your couch. To make it even better, if you guys use the link in my description and use code Stephanie30, you can get 30% off your first order and free shipping. And thank you ThredUp for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to use that link in the description and use code Stephanie30 to get 30% off your first order. With that being said, let's get into the story. I'm so excited, I can't even wait.
Starving.
So let's get into the salmon. I'm dipping it.
All right, let me try that too.
Okay.
So good.
Get out of here.
You have to try this one. Bro,
I love a seaweed salad.
you know, sushi is actually my favorite food of all time.
Me too.
I thought it was a black bean noodle.
Yeah,
yeah.
but I changed.
He's sophisticated now.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Okay, let me try this shrimp. It has been calling my name. I don't even really like the shrimp sushis, but this one looks...
Alright, let's try this with this.
Just so everybody know, to get credits, I put them together.
He did.
He did make the nigiri, he did. Okay, let's try the sushi. He didn't make the sushi roll though.
I'm so happy.
Do you guys know a lot about art? You go to museums? Who's your favorite artist?
Picasso.
Top 5 favorite Picassos.
Da Vinci. I like Da Vinci. Wait, who drew Mona Lisa? Who drew Mona Lisa?
Mona Lisa, drew Mona Lisa.
It's actually a selfie.
Nah.
That's why it's so famous. It's the first selfie ever recorded in history.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know you thought it was Kim Kardashian, but it was Mona Lisa. It's our girl Mon.
You're definitely into art.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think that's definitely what you spend your time doing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile,
So today we're talking about an artist, but she's not your typical artist. She's actually a performance artist. And I'm sure once I start talking about her, you're going to be familiar with her. Her name is Marina Abramović. freaking love her name. I just want to do a quick disclaimer. I am not an art person. I'm more of a fart person. Like up here, I know it looks big, but there's not much going on. I know it's crazy. It doesn't sound true, but that is very much the case. Like there's not a lot going on. I'm not going to be dissecting each piece and understanding the value of each piece and like what she meant and the analogies behind it, all of that. I'm actually this is going to be a brief, superficial overview of some wild stuff that I found online because I ended up watching this amazing documentary. It's called The Artist is Present, and it's all about Marina Abramovich's MoMA exhibition at the Modern Museum of Art. And I remember vaguely hearing about this exhibition like a bajillion years ago. I think I was like so young back then. But I never knew who it was. I never knew what the hype was. I just knew it was a little bit weird. I honestly thought it was a YouTube video. Don't kill me, art people. I thought it was a YouTube video. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. Is the woman who sat there for every day, 7 hours a day for 3 months straight, okay? And her ex-lover that she hadn't seen in 24 years came and sat on the opposite chair. So anyone could come and sit down on the opposite chair.
Okay.
And her ex-lover came.
That wasn't part of the plan.
No.
Wow.
And then what did they do?
It went viral. It was a very emotional moment.
Did they get back together?
No.
That's unfortunate.
But that's art, right? If they get together, that would be K-drama.
Right.
And the Great Wall of China is involved.
Oh,
Sorry to throw that out there and staring at you. That was a little aggressive.
Okay. Now I'm interested.
So this artist is actually Serbian. So for 40 years, Marina Abramović was told that she was insane. Some people said that she needed to be put in a mental hospital. A lot of people, religious people specifically, told her that she was going to hell and she was going to burn for what she did. Why? Just because she had a couple historical moments that will forever be cemented in the art world. But she wasn't a painter or a sculptor, not really. She focused on performance art, interacting with the audience. She is known as the grandmother of performance art. She challenged paintings, museums in general. She believes that the medium is her body. Her art is usually provocative, incredibly violent and challenging, and it was never normal or expected or calm. Let's just say that. One of her first well-known performances was Rhythm Zero, and it was in her native Serbia. Now, it was supposed to be a piece on human nature, so she decided that she was going to stand in a museum gallery fully clothed for 6 hours, and in front of her there was this long table with 72 different objects. So some of the objects started off really cute. There was a feather, some olive oil, a little feather boa, some roses, some honey, some grapes, lipstick, nice things. But also on the table were some wilder items, like a whip, a scalpel, a camera, chains, knives, razor blades, and even a pistol that was loaded with just one bullet. The aim was that Marina would stand there for 6 hours and let the public do whatever they wanted to her. She even told herself, she mentally prepared herself to be R-worded or to be murdered. She said that she wasn't gonna run or try to stop it. She was just gonna stand there passive and let the public do whatever they wanted to her with no intervention, nothing.
But I mean, you're in public, so how far, right?
That's what you think.
No way.
That's what
You'll
you
get
think.
arrested. You'll go to prison.
I mean, the most I could imagine is someone give her like a whip or something.
That's what you
whip?
think.
Like a whip. Or like shave her head.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just you guys whip.
But why? What's the...
But yeah, what's the whole purpose of this though? Her performance.
See, like performance, what is it called?
Performance art?
Performance art is just like, I don't know, it's just weird to me. Because I've seen I recently was watching some shows and then there was a performance artist. And all he's trying to do is he's trying to do this weird public experiment with a bunch of people.
I feel like I didn't get it either.
Yeah.
But I think listening to her story might make you get it. I don't know if there's a deeper meaning behind that one, but Marina's is not like that. Marina's actually has a lot of deep meaning.
Okay.
And I'm only touching the surface, right? So
But then
Marina's
what I'm
has-
saying
yeah.
is like, I'm sure that artist has its own meaning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
But all these participants were like, I don't get it. This did not make me feel more connected to the other partners in the experiment.
Well, everybody that has dealt with Marina in her performances, they
Yeah.
feel something.
Okay. I
So
guess
think
there's
it's-
levels to
There's
this.
levels to this. You know, there's people. Listen, you could call my YouTube videos performance art. You know, if you really want to, and this would be like the bottom of the barrel performance art. And then you have someone like Marina Abramovich, which, like, am I a fan? I think so. Listen, I don't know her politically. I don't know if she's had any controversial things going on, but I like her as of right now. So anyways, at first everybody was incredibly loving. Well, not loving per se, but they were scared to approach her. They just kind of looked on. Nobody wanted to be the first to come up to her. And then people slowly came up and they would do these little things. They would reposition her arms, place them up, right? And she would keep them like this. They would kind of shake her around, shake her hair. Then they realized that she's not going to stop them. She's going to let them do whatever they want. So they start getting more bold. They start taking pictures of her, posing her. They played with her body. They wrote on her. They wrote explicit, degrading things on her body. They started blindfolding her, dousing her with cold water. And I think at this point, you know, the people, it seemed like they were in it for the reaction. Like, there's no way she's going to react at some point, right? So maybe they wrote on her, then maybe they doused the water. They started marking her, probing her, scratching her. A person even kissed her on the lips. People started groping her. And then they realized she's not going to do anything. So the aggression came. People started getting bold. They poured oil all over her. They took thorns off the roses and started pricking at her stomach. They cut off all her clothes till she was fully naked. One person even cut her near her neck and licked her blood. They picked her up, carried her, threw her on a wooden table, stabbed in between her legs with a knife while screaming. So in order to scare her, they wanted her to react. One motherfucker, I hope he steps on 5,000 Legos every morning for the rest of his life. He held a gun up to her temple, the loaded pistol, and he had intention. She said she could feel it. He then pulled her finger and pulled it around the trigger, and they stood like that for however long, till someone else pulled the gun away. The worst part for her, though, was that there was this guy who was just constantly there breathing, just always there breathing. Someone tried to R-word her, but a group quickly was like, hey, you can't do that. The terrifying part, she said, was how quickly a group of people come homicidal, really, if you give them the permission to do it. I mean, they were taking the thorn away from the rose and sticking it in her stomach. She said, the public can kill you. She said, if you give a guy a chainsaw, you're provoking him. If you leave it up to the audience, they can kill you. I still have the scars. So by the end of that 6 hours, she was in pain, she was bleeding, she was lucky to be alive. And when it was up, she walked around the room and she tried to look at the audience members in the face, but everyone scattered. Nobody could bear to actually look at her now. Nobody wanted to confront the real person that they had just been abusing for 6 hours. So what a lot of people took from this performance art was that humanity is the cruelest when presented with a passive victim. So they said that's why oppressors first work hard to silence a victim. And when Marina's passiveness dissipated and after her 6 hours, she steps up to confront them face to face, their taste for confrontation and violence suddenly vanishes. Some people said maybe her absolute passivity angered these people. Maybe they wanted her to react. Like, why aren't you doing anything? Why aren't you screaming? Why aren't you flinching? So then they kept pushing more and more. Either way, fuck these people. But you know, you get what I mean. The experiment proved the evil side of humanity. She said it was 6 hours of pure torture. It somehow, you know, she said this like evil and this want to hurt people is contained in us because we all need to face the social consequences of bad behavior. But if we don't have to, you can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
So they were just exploiting and torturing her for no reason. I guess because they just could. You know, there were some nice people in the crowd, though. A woman came up and tried to clean Marina's face, helped wipe the oil off her face. A group of people eventually formed to try and protect her. They stayed the 6 hours, like trying to stop people. And someone had this to say about Rhythm Zero. It's clear that under no condition should a performance piece like Rhythm Zero ever be repeated again. If it wasn't for a handful of just vigilant civilian guardians, the artist may not have survived that night. But if the point of Rhythm Zero was to hold up a mirror to the darker corners of human nature, then the performance was a success. Not only did it reveal the true price of passivity, it hinted at what submissive women might really be up against when they leave themselves in the hands of strangers. Yeah. Okay, this one's got a deeper meaning, no?
Yes, but I feel like at the same time, I would have known this without an experiment like that? Because I've
But-
already heard a lot of dark side about human nature, like the things that people would do.
Like when there's no rules, no
Yeah,
laws.
or just that look, turn on the news, just
But
see
you know-
what's going on out there.
I think what's fascinating is that those are like serial killers and criminals, right? But I think this is truly like a group of regular people that walked into a museum to appreciate art that day. And instead they turned into aggressors. They turned into these torturers almost.
it.
So I think it's a little bit different.
So this happened in.
In a museum. The people that came, they didn't know she was there doing this. They came to see art. And then they ended up torturing a woman.
Okay, so they're saying like there are a lot more evil in
Yes.
human nature than you think.
Yes. And like the passive victim is the victim that's in the most danger. So I don't know, maybe it's me. When I was reading about this, when I was researching this, I was shooketh. Even though we deal with true crime on a daily basis, it was crazy. Which, by the way,
That is shocking. I
Yeah.
guess. You can't imagine.
like
see that.
imagine we went to fucking LACMA and they're just torturing a random girl.
Oh, what?
LACMA, the museum,
Yeah.
LA museum, with all the lamps outside that
Oh,
everyone
that's
take a picture.
LACMA?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta go there.
Go there to do what? Take a picture?
That's scary, dude.
Insane.
My goodness, we are evil. Do you think everyone is evil?
Do you think human are in with the
I think
human
natural-
nature are greater goods or greater bad?
Great or bad?
You think so?
Yeah. I think there's more bad than good.
I guess that's what this experiment they're trying to expose.
Yeah, and it was shocking because she said it wasn't just men. I mean, most of the aggressors were men, and most of the people trying to help her were women. But there were some women telling the men what to do,
Wow.
like how to hurt her. Does really shine a light on the world, no? Yeah, very depressing. So, which by the way, some uplifting news. Marina is also credited with helping Lady Gaga quit smoking. Yeah, Marina Abramovich is friends with Lady Gaga.
Wow.
So you're like, how do you quit smoking? Asking for Lady Gaga. So she has this whole video, and she is all about teaching mindfulness, which, you know, it sounds like a cool buzzword, but what does it even mean? So she teaches 3 exercises, and she allegedly taught this to Lady Gaga. She said, take a glass of water, 8 ounces, and you have to concentrate on how this water can nourish every cell of your body. So first you want to hold the glass. Spend a moment feeling the glass, really being present with the glass, and then just touch the glass with your lips. Feel the coldness of the glass itself, and then take a small amount of water and swallow it, and feel how the water goes through your system. She said do it excruciatingly slow. Take 20 minutes to drink 1 small glass of water, concentrating on nothing but the glass of water. Then exercise number 2, write your name on a piece of paper for an entire hour. Don't stop writing. Your pen should always be on the paper. Focus on the breathing. You want to breathe slow. You want to be mindful of what you're doing, right? If you breathe fast, the more unconcentrated you are. Now, you don't want to write your name as fast as possible or as many times as possible. You want to write your name as slow as possible while only thinking about writing your name, about how the pen goes up and down for certain letters. Only think about the name. She said, don't let your mind wander. Sometimes it takes her an hour to write her name, Marina. Not even her last name, just Marina. And then exercise number 3, she counts rice for like 16 hours. She counts them one by one, and she does it slowly. And this is all important for later because her performance art pieces are honestly just a feat of athleticism if you really think about it too. Like, it's insane.
Does this?
What do you mean count rice? Like a grain of rice?
Really?
How much are she counting? A whole bag?
Like a pile.
So this.
So what is this
work?
practicing? Like patience? What is it? Mindfulness?
Being present. And you'll see why it's important to her later.
So it's like yoga. Meditation. More like meditation, right?
Like, she's really cool. Before one of her exhibitions, she actually trained like a NASA astronaut. Now, back to her rhythm series. One of her series was called Rhythm 10. And this is when she's a young artist, like probably younger than us when she did all of these. This Rhythm 10 was her using 20 knives and 2 tape recorders to play the Russian game, where she would stab her fingers, like, you know, between your knives, right? And
Between the
anytime,
fingers.
yeah, between the fingers. And anytime she cut herself, she'd pick up a new knife. So she cut herself 20 times. And at the end, she replayed the tapes of her cutting herself and hearing her screams and tried to replicate the same movements and mistakes, trying to cut herself the same way with the exact same knife at the exact same time. So it's kind of like merging past and present. It's almost as if, are you going to repeat the same painful mistakes?
She's trying to repeat it.
She's trying to force herself. And people were saying, okay, like we get it, it's poetic, but how do you stab yourself with a knife and like expect to do it 20 times? She said once you enter into the performance state, you can push your body to do things you absolutely could never normally do. In Rhythm 2, she ingested medication that was typically given to people who suffer from being catatonic, and it forces you to change positions in your body. So if you take that medication without having that problem, your muscles are going to contract violently. Essentially, she was experiencing the feeling of seizures, and she did this in a museum gallery room. She lost control of her body, but her mind was still fully present. It was still fully aware. So then after that wears off, she takes a second medication, which was typically prescribed to schizophrenic patients with violent disorders to calm them down. This would help her lose her mind. She does not remember anything that happened in that time. She was mentally removed. So in one, she felt no control over her mind. Then the other, she felt no control over her body. And the whole performance lasted 5 hours.
Wow. So she was on stage doing this?
Yes. Honestly, I like her a lot. Why? I don't know, but it's like each one, in theory, like, it's like what you were saying about Rhythm Zero. In theory, we know that bad things can happen because humans are bad. But to see it visually and to see that it actually happened, and then she meets a guy or another artist by the name of Ulay. And they both just had this fascination for each other. Ulay was a talented artist himself, and they were both kind of cutting edge. They loved performance art. They were both cutthroat people who really wanted to just embody their work. I mean, Marina was so hardcore, and the fact that she met someone that was equally dedicated and as hardcore as her, it impressed the hell out of her. So she finally met her equal. They were also born on the same day, November 30th, and they were both Sagittariuses, which like, same. It just seemed like it was destiny for them to be together. Right before another art exhibition, they meet. And this one was called Thomas's Lips, or The Lips of Thomas. It was in Amsterdam. And Marina was going to be stark naked in a museum. And she actually grew up in a communist era. And she saw a lot of wars happen. She saw people dying. She saw a lot growing up. And she was raised in a very strict household. So this all kind of, plays into all of her art. She was going to be stark naked in a museum. She would use this little razor blade to cut the communist star onto her stomach. And then she would get on her knees and whip her own back. And then after, she laid on a cross made of ice, all the while bleeding. So this was, obviously, there's a lot of meaning to this. And a lot of her pieces actually surround just, showing the pain of growing up in a communist era with a lot of war, a lot of like famine, a lot of just horrible things going on. So the country that she originally came from, Yugoslavia, no longer exists. So there's just a lot there to unpack that I'm not going to get into, but like there's a lot of meaning to her stuff. And she was in a lot of pain. She probably didn't show it, but it was a lot of pain. She's not just whipping her back motionless, like without passion. I mean, every time she whips her back, it's to a degree where I don't think most people could last 3 seconds. I think, in fact, it would be easier to have somebody else whip you. Or like even cut a communist star into your stomach, because to do that yourself, it takes a lot of willpower. Yeah. It's just crazy. Anyway, Ulay started nursing her wounds afterwards, and that's when Marina said it was like 2 trains connected together. Their bodies were united in soul. They were one of the same. She loved him more than she loved herself. They were lovers, they were friends, they were performers all at once, and they started going around performing these groups of works called the relation works. Now, this was groundbreaking in the art of performance. Like, it was all about bodily conflict. Most of the time, they'd be stark naked, stand on opposite sides of the gallery, and in one, they would run to the center where they would collide, essentially slam into one another repeatedly for hours. So that one's supposed to like symbolize, what a relationship does to you, what love does to you, just repeating the same fights. And, there's a lot of different... That's a good one. He said, I like that one.
That's relatable.
Another part of the relation works, and every single work has multiple different ways you can interpret it. Some people say that this is love, it's just painful, and you inflicting pain on the same person over and over again without stopping, but you can't help yourself. There's like a lot of meanings to each of her pieces. And then in another one, Ulay was completely naked, and he was strapped up to the wall with this giant, almost rubber band-like situation, and with his entire being, he tries to run, but the band would snack him back against the wall, and he would keep doing it over and over and over. In another one, they just sat staring at each other, yelling into each other's faces for hours.
Well, that we already kind of do, so.
And other times, they would sit on these chairs and just slap each other on the face over and over again. In one exhibition, they both stood naked in a very tight passageway, and you would have to get through them to get into the entrance. So they were just staring at each other, and all the visitors had to squeeze between them and brush up against their naked bodies to get in. In another one, they were tied together for their ponytails, sitting on a chair, tied together by their ponytails for 16 hours. In another one, they drove around the museum, like inside the museum there was a room, and they brought their van in, and they drove around 365 laps. And they devised this contraption that would like ooze liquid out, and they created an art piece like that. In another one of their relation works, they had this contraption that they connected in their mouths. And they each took like breaths. They were breathing into this tube, and it was connected to the other person's mouth. So they both were breathing normally until they used up all the available oxygen. And it lasted 17 minutes before they both fell on the floor unconscious. They said that the idea was your ability to absorb the life of another person and exchanging your life and destroying it.
Damn.
Another one was called Rest Energy. The two of them stood there holding a bow and arrow against Marina's heart, but it was tightened. So it wasn't just like this, it was tightened. Marina was holding the bow to her heart, and he had tightened the arrow, and they were just holding still for hours. They had to hold still. And they had these microphones that recorded their heartbeats. And you would see when they would accelerate, when they would calm down, when they felt vulnerable and scared and nervous. They stayed like that for hours. What's fascinating is that this whole art piece would have meant something different if Ulay was the only one holding the bow and arrow. But the fact that she held the bow up, it's like she was helping him, supporting him, while taking her own life. Letting him kill her, essentially. It said that after most of their performances, they would be black and blue, bruised everywhere. And together like this, they were together for 12 years. Wow. And the two of them lived in this dingy van. All they wanted to do was perform and think about performing and nothing else, which is just crazy.
Is she still around?
Mm-hmm. She's in her 80s now and still performing.
Dang.
Mm-hmm. 70s?
I actually like her now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's teaching a lesson.
Isn't her stuff good?
Wow.
Yeah.
Like the length that she goes through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just
I
to
get
show.
it. Yeah.
I think I like her because I've never felt such an emotion reading about a painting or reading about a sculpture. So she really does make you feel things, which is the whole point of art, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is to make the viewer feel something. And I feel something. I don't know if it's art, I don't know if it's a fart, but I feel it. It's kind of bubbly.
How about both?
Yeah, exactly. Wow, so good.
I'm surprised she's still like alive. Is
Oh,
that kinda weird?
after her stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just like on the verge of
Yeah.
death. Like the things she does.
It's crazy. Yeah, and the fact is, they weren't even making that much money at the time. Or at least not a lot. People actually really criticized them and looked down on them. They said, what is that? That's not art. You know, Fox News, even when she was in MoMA, they fucking called her that Yugoslavian woman. That provocative Yugoslavian woman.
Cancel.
People judge her for being like naked and raw.
Yes. So, you know, a lot of the communist star, some people misinterpret it as a pentagram, and people associate her with Satanism. But so they would kind of associate her with Satanism, and they didn't like that. Anyways, which, by the way, this whole van life that she was doing at the time was not, it's not the van life you see on YouTube. It's not a Mercedes Sprinter decked out to be a mini house, by the way. Like, it was truly a beat up, stinky, dingy van with like blankets. That's it, just a place to sleep. They would have to drive to the countryside, and they lived with shepherds and milked goats to earn a few dollars here and there. That's it. But Marina said it was one of the happiest times of her life. Just being free with the man that she loved, not making any compromises in her work, being passionate, and just focusing on her art. The two of them and their dog and the whole universe. But then there started to be a division in their art. So one piece that they had was Nightsea Crossing, and it consisted of him and her sitting on two chairs, motionless, silent, fasting on this long table. So it kind of really looks like a dinner table that they're on in the middle of a museum, but they're silent. They're not moving, and they're fasting. They're not eating anything. They said it's kind of about the tremendous dislikes of Western society. Westerners don't like silence, they don't like being motionless, and they definitely don't like fasting. So the two did Nightsea Crossing for 90 non-consecutive days, but it wasn't a 9 to 5. I mean, sometimes they would sit there 10 days in a row. And it was hard to sit there so motionless. I mean, nearly impossible, but they tried, just staring at each other. Imagine you have an itch. What if, you have other things that you want to think about? You want to look around you. Who's coming into the museum? All of the distractions, but you have to keep staring ahead. Around day 14, Ulay had to give up. He felt like his ribs were crushing his spleen. He had lost 25 pounds at this point, just sitting there.
Jeez.
He had enough. He felt like his bones were sticking and going to penetrate through his skin, his tailbone. It was painful, and Marina understood. But what she didn't understand was when Ulay told her to get up, because the performance was over. It's just, come on, we gotta go. But she didn't see the point. I mean, she's saying, okay, you can go, but I can sit here and stare at the empty chair. Why not? That's fine.
That's art.
Yeah, but she didn't. So, I mean, I can't even imagine a 12-year relationship with one person that's that intense. Imagine two of them. It sounds like one of those movies, like a love and an adventure that most of us will never know, like that type of... I don't even know if it's healthy, okay? Probably too intense for most of us, myself included. But it all ended with the Great Wall of China.
Hey.
Wait, that wasn't the end.
No. Their relationship ends with the Great Wall of China. This piece is now known as The Lovers. It took them 8 years to get China to approve of them walking the Great Wall and documenting it. And this was the last piece in the relation works. They would walk from opposite ends of the Great Wall of China till they met in the middle.
Jeez.
It would take both of them 3 months and about 2,200 miles on each end to get to the middle.
Hey, is that long?
And they did it. And the work ended with their split. They broke up.
Why?
They said as they started doing more performances and as they started getting more respect and attention and admiration, the two of them were very different. So Ulay is what they call a purist. So he wants performance art to stay the same as it was since it began. He wants it in the purest form. Whereas Marina is a very adaptive person. She has graced the covers of fashion magazines. A lot of the times you'll see her head to toe in Givenchy, which a lot of people don't like. They're like, you're an entrepreneur, you're not an artist. But she just thinks it's really sad if you're doing things from the 70s when it's no longer the 70s. So they just have very different views,
I find that very fascinating. Their
Yeah.
minds, their thinking. I like that.
Yeah.
So you're saying she's adapting
Yes.
to today.
Like innovative.
Today's
innovating
art.
the art to today's art and what people want to see today. But he's saying, no, that's not
How you're supposed to
Yeah,
do it.
and pure art, you shouldn't care what all these people are thinking. You should do.
Yes, you shouldn't care about what the society wants.
They both got a point though.
Yeah. I mean, that's what being an artist is, right? Like, there's no right or wrong.
It felt like the better that they were doing, they just had more differences in the art and where it was going, the more that they would fight in private. And Marina would stay focused on the performances. But Ulay, he wanted to experience life. He wanted to drink, drugs. He even wanted to cheat on Marina, and she found out.
Wow.
And then she had an affair with a friend of theirs. I mean, it wasn't looking great. Which, speaking of Marina having an affair with a friend of theirs, don't even get me started. This is why they really broke up. Ulay, in order for them to walk the Great Wall of China, they had to negotiate with China for like 8 years. And to get that type of permission, it was something in the works for a really long time that required Ulay to make multiple trips to China to get a translator. Well, after they finish the lovers' walk, he tells her, the translator's pregnant. It's my baby. What do I do? What do you think I should do? And she said, I don't know what the fuck you're gonna do, but I'm leaving. So, goodbye. And he married the translator. I think they're broken up now, but he married the translator. And Marina went on her own, and she said it was the hardest thing of her life because she was now 40, and in her words, fat, ugly, unwanted. She felt like not only had she lost the man of her life and her dreams, but she lost her work because for the past 12 years, she really did no peace by herself. It was all the relation works. It was always Abramovich and Ulay, it was never Marina. So she did what everybody else did. She did some retail therapy. She flew to Paris. She finally spent some money of her own, and she bought designer clothes. And she fell in love with fashion. Like, she loves fashion, and her outfits are amazing. And she said it changed her life. And this was the moment where she put her all into her dream, into art. I mean, everything. She got into even theater, and she said she didn't like it as much, but that's where the money was. She doesn't like theater because performance, There's knives and there's blood. Or at least her performances. But theater, there's ketchup and you don't actually cut yourself. So other performances she had, she laid on ice for hours completely naked. She banged herself into a wall over and over again, just letting everyone watch. She created this flaming star, the communist star, made of gasoline smoke soaked sawdust, and she laid in the middle of it. And that one nearly took her life. The fire sucked out all the oxygen in the middle and she passed out, but nobody could see for the longest time. All they could see was the blaze until an audience member noticed. She was rushed to the hospital with burns all over her body, and she was fucking angry. Because that's when she realized there are limits to performance art. She was
She's
so upset
angry?
she couldn't finish it, her piece.
Oh, I thought she was angry that someone took her out.
No, but she realized that, your body has limits. So she said, I test the limits of myself in order to transform myself. But I also take the energy from the audience and I transform it. It goes back to them in a different way. This is why people in the audience often cry or become angry or whatever, because a powerful performance will transform everyone in the room. Another one. She did one where she sat there scrubbing clean 1,600 bloody cow bones. It was a pile of cow bones. She's sitting on there with a white dress, blood smeared everywhere, cleaning them, singing her native songs. 6 hours a day for 4 days straight. Do you want to know why? To
Why?
symbolize the destruction and horror of the Balkans War. Yeah, insane. And this is, when their paths really diverged a lot. Marina went into all of these things. Ulay, he said after their separation, he wasn't as ambitious as her. She'd always been the hard worker. And she climbed this huge mountain of success and, it just wasn't... Anyway, so Marina was going to have this entire exhibition at the MoMA. And it was going to be called The Artist is Present. All about her life's work. It was going to be 3 floors, I think, dedicated to all of her work. There were going to be these young artists that would come in and recreate her works.
Okay.
And at the end, she would have her own exhibition. Another work, right? A new performance piece where she would sit in an empty room, nothing but a chair, 2 chairs and a table. So imagine the Night Sea Crossing, the one that she did with Ulay, that he had to get up. But instead, an audience member could sit there for as long as they wanted, in silence with her, and then leave.
That's cool.
People were fucking waiting out the door all night long for these tickets to try to sit in front of the Marina Abramovich.
Is she still famous today?
So famous. She's probably only getting more famous,
Wow.
And she would not talk. She would not get up. She would just silently stare at you. She was going to do this every day for 3 months for 8 hours a day.
Because I feel like if you're so into art,
Yeah.
imagine sitting there, you become part of the art.
Yes.
You're part of it now.
Yes.
I didn't think about that.
If you're an artist, this is the peak of your life, probably.
Yeah.
IQ?
Is she the goddess of performance art?
I would say, though, her performance is on par with, an athletic thing. It's definitely because there were a lot of doctors who were even scared for her. To have nothing going on, no distractions, to be fully present for that many hours, for that many days, for 3 months. Just physically speaking, physiology, there's going to be shit going on. The amount of pain, she said it was excruciating just sitting there on a wooden chair with no armrests.
And she's doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, people were worried because this is what she's doing for the MoMA, and there's such a big possibility that it won't go well. Performance art is one of those things where you mess up a little bit and you're ridiculed. Your whole life's work has gone down the drain because it's oh my god, she's trying to do this stupid thing. She's so stupid. How embarrassing. It can come off incredibly cringy if not done to the T. So the pressure for her to pull it off, and not only just pulling this one off, but this MoMA exhibition was showcasing her entire life's work. So, I mean, it's a lot of pressure. So for the weeks before the show, she was in bed, sick, vomiting, couldn't get up for days. She bought red sheets for the hotel room because she believed that red gives her strength. She loved the color. She was decked out in red, red clothes, red sheets, red blanket, red oranges. She did a few interviews. And someone asked her, "You seem happy. Are you?" She said, "Depends. I'm just happy that I'm by myself. I mean, who can I live with to do this for the next 3 months? There's no human being that will stay with me because I am in a military drill. I'm in this real complete place of concentration, and doing this 3 months, it looks so simple. But you're in an atrium and having one position and a chair, It's extremely difficult. You really have to be like a mountain. I want to create some kind of stillness in the middle of hell. And for that, I have to be in the right state of mind. I have to restrict myself with everything. And it's winter right now. When I get out, it's going to be summer.
Damn.
At one point, she said she feels like Marie Antoinette going to get her head cut off. So Marina's practice is extreme. Listen, I'm just saying she didn't get enough credit. That's all I gotta say, okay? I just know that it sounds so easy, but I can't even imagine doing like 1% of that. Like it sounds easy to be like, sit there. I sit there and do computer work 9 to 5, you know? But it's like not the same.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. So before the MoMA exhibition, she underwent training that was made by NASA for astronauts. She had to physically, mentally prepare herself for a feat of endurance. She had to become a vegetarian. She had to do deep meditations. She had to cleanse her entire body. She trained the body and mind. She ate certain foods so she wouldn't need to go to the toilet for 7 hours. She learned to sleep in short bursts at night. And, by sitting on a wooden chair without armrest, she said it was hellish. She said the arms eventually swell. The shoulders start to sag. The pain only increases. And your ribs actually start going into the organs. So Ulay went in there and waited in line just like everybody else. And he went through each room to see her presentations, her life's work, some of his work too. And then he went to see the artist is present. And he sat down and Marina looked up. So what Marina would do, and this is what's so, I guess, beautiful about the whole process, is that after one person would sit, by the way, the whole room is filled with people, which is a pretty big space. Everything's white. It's just a wooden chair and 2 wooden desks. She would lower her head, kind of reset, and the next person would sit down, and when they were finally done shuffling and they were looking at her, she would look up, and people who sat in that chair said it was amazing because you would go in at the end of her day. She's already there for 8 hours. But you felt like she was there and so present with you. Like she was a blank slate. She wasn't distracted ever. You were the only thing on her mind for however long you sat there. And she gave that same undivided attention to every single person in that chair.
Wow.
Which we can't even do that with one person because we'd be checking our phones. But she, insane. So she lifts her head and she makes eye contact with Ulay. And this was the only time she broke her own rules. She started bawling and she reached out her hands. And he reached out his and they embraced hands on the table. Yeah, and that went viral on YouTube and everywhere. Because like imagine they haven't seen each other in 24 years. They broke up and they haven't seen each other. The pain, the love, the questions, the nostalgia of, even not just their past love, but their past performances, everything.
Does this make the art more
beautiful?
Yeah.
significant?
Meaningful.
Yes.
Wow. How long did he sit?
Not that long. Yeah.
Come on.
And then he just left?
Yeah.
Damn.
And then it was time for the next person. And, it was almost this moment of, because a lot of people knew who Ulay was. I mean, they just went through the exhibition, it was him, right? And it was this feeling of, they did the Nightsea Crossing, she would stare at her lover, and now he's not there, and the audience is her lover. Because she fell in love with her art after their breakup too. And just the level of respect, love, and emotion that she had for every single person sitting across from her. I mean, she said that each person had a different reason for sitting in front of her. Some of them liked her, some of them wanted to see what was going on, but a lot of them were curious, and a lot of them were angry. It's almost like that, it's almost like Rhythm Zero. Like you want someone to make a reaction. There was a lot of discourse in the media about her being like a Satanist and her, doing all this crazy shit. So some people were just freaking angry. Like they would just sit there, no offense, a lot of the times they were dudes, and they'd just be like,
what? Why are you there? What the heck?
Why are you there? Literally, why are you there? But I guess it's like the same thing of like, if you don't like a video, why are you watching? They're still gonna do it, so whatever, right? Okay. So she's sitting there and she would just stare at them with love and respect like she did every single one of them. And she said that she was shocked at how so many people have pain. She said, when they're sitting in front of me, it's not about me anymore. Very soon, I'm just a mirror of their own self. And a lot of people would just start bawling. Just bawling. And a lot of the time she would cry with them, but they were just bawling. She never said anything. They never said anything. They just sat in front of her and they bawled. Which at first I was like, that's weird, right? But as I'm thinking about it and as I'm like imagining myself sitting there and there's just someone staring at me and not saying a single word and it's a stranger, I think I might bawl too. I think I might bawl, like in a weird way, just knowing my own personality and how emotional I am. I think I would cry. I don't know how I would react in that situation. I think at first it's like maybe some nervous giggling, but then she doesn't nervous giggle with you. She doesn't try to fill the silence. She just stares at you. I'd cry. They said that, some people even fell in love with Marina. They said it's as if the world is moving so fast, but Marina slows everybody's brains down. You sit there in front of her and you forget that there's crowds of people watching you. You forget that there's cameras and guards. You sit there and afterwards you feel kind of transformed and you leave. Marina said a lot of the times the announcement would come on that the museum is closed and she'd be so shocked because it felt so short. And then the Momo was worried, they were worried that she was damaging her body. So they told her, if you feel pain, if you feel that much pain, and you feel like you're hurting yourself forever, you can officially end your performance now. And she said, I wouldn't even listen to you. Like, I'm never, ever going to consider something like that. But she said the pain is enormous, but it's keeping a secret. Because once you go through the pain, you're in this new state of mind, this feeling of unconditional love, this feeling that there's no kinds of borders between your body and the environment, and you start feeling this incredible lightness and harmony with yourself. And she said, I can't explain. And that state of mind is, even the public starts feeling it's something different when you get to that place. Because performance is all about state of mind. She said the public is like a dog. They can feel insecurity. They can feel the fear. They can feel like you're not actually present. Mm-hmm. They can feel all of that. So the idea is to bring the performer and the audience in this same state of consciousness. And a lot of people would just weep in front of her. And one thing I saw a lot in the documentary is a lot of people would put their hand to their hearts while weeping. And Marina would mirror them. And she would put her hand to her heart too. And it was just like, you just want to cry. But there were some crazy people. Someone tried to get completely naked in front of her. The guards had to take her away. And eventually Marina asked for the table to be removed. Security was really upset about this at a security standpoint at the MoMA because, there's nothing to stop someone from literally lunging over and grabbing her. With the table, yeah, you could still do something, but it's an extra barrier. There's a bunch of guards everywhere. They can try to stop it. They can try to prevent it. But now it's nothing. And she said, moving that table is like a mental feat. Because at first you have this, safety net, this sense of, stability. But then it's gone and it's really just you and somebody else. Nothing else. People said when you first meet Marina, you might think, oh God, she's in love with me. But it takes you a while to understand that she's not in love with you. No offense. She's in love with the world. So a lot of people sat there feeling like, she's in love with me. Like, she actually gets me and she loves me. So this caused so much craziness that a lot of celebrities went. Madonna, Sharon Stone, James Franco, Lady Gaga even went, but Lady Gaga did not sit with her, mainly because I think Madonna jumped the line, because people were waiting in line for days at this point. And Madonna's PR team got a lot of backlash for it, for letting her jump the line because she was a celebrity. Some people traveled the world to see her. Some people came from Australia to sit in front of her. And at the end, she finished and it was a success, which is crazy. She also had another exhibition in the UK. And she said that one she was even more nervous for because the British people are very quick to ridicule, she said. And they don't like to do things that they could be ridiculed for. And she said the British people get bored easily. Which I don't know if that's true. Let me know if it is.
I don't want to know.
Yeah. And an ex-husband said of Marina, she's never not performing. And Marina said this about love. She is single and she's in her 70s. And she said the type of woman that she is invites a lot of loneliness because if you're a woman like this, it's almost impossible to establish a relationship. You're too much for everybody. It's too much. The woman always has to play this role of being fragile and dependent. And if you're not, they're fascinated by you. But only for a while. And then they want to change you. And then they want to crush you. And then they leave. So, lots of lonely hotel rooms for Marina.
So after her ex, she never had a boyfriend?
She did get married a couple times, but it never worked out. And now it seems like she's comfortable being alone.
Wow, what a fascinating life.
Which is true, you know. I can't imagine dating someone like Marina, gender, you know, regardless. But I think
too
it's,
risky?
you know, definitely.
Oh, it's not too risky. Like, can you date someone like that? If your girlfriend is like that?
Probably not.
He said probably not.
Like, imagine she's like, okay, today, babe, we're just gonna sit here all day and count grains of rice. Don't look at your fucking phone. Count grains of rice.
Yes, Dad.
I can't do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, bro.
Marina?
I can't do it either.
I'm sorry, I can't do that.
She's so intense.
Even like 1 hour would be so hard.
Bro, yeah, I don't even think I could last 30 minutes of counting grains of rice.
Like,
Bro, even just thinking about sitting there counting grains of rice makes me itchy.
I'll probably fall asleep.
Yeah. Listen, even to meet Marina, I think I would shit myself. I think people that are this level of intensity, I feel ashamed. Like, I don't even think I can be in their presence because I'm like, I don't have that level of passion as you do for this world. I don't even know what we could talk about. Like, I'm passionate about the most basic things. I'm passionate about avocado toast. Yes. I'm literally ashamed of this world. How long do you think you'd last?
30 minutes.
You can last 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, you know how uncomfortable it is? Come on, move your chair. Let's stare at each other. Okay, ready? 3, 2.
I already won.
All right, we were gonna stare at each other, but it was getting really awkward, right, Dan Dan? So
Very.
we're gonna leave. I can't even sit next to you. Bye. Make sure to check out ThreadUp and use code Stephanie30 to get 30% off your first order at ThreadUp. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.